Hey, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Street You Grew Up On. Everyday moments mold us and help define who we are, whether we are aware of it happening or not. With our partner at Intuit QuickBooks, we celebrate these moments on the streets we grew up on and empower small businesses. Those kinds of everyday moments helped define our next guest as a legendary rapper and singer and a brilliant actor in projects like Set It Off and Living Single and The Equalizer. She is an overall icon. She also happens to be a very dear friend of mine. All hail the Queen, because Queen Latifah is here.
Thank you for doing this.
Are you kidding me? Thank you. All right, ready? So we're gonna jump in. So, you know, my production company, Simpson Street, is named after the street in the Bronx that my mom grew up on. I started this series because I wanted to talk to people that I love and respect and admire, like you, about the street that they grew up on. Because that's like in the fairy tale of your life, that's like your once upon a time.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you the name of the street you grew up on by asking you your porn star name, your sexy alter ego name. So that is the name of your first pet, followed by the name of the street you grew up on. So your first pet was?
Mustafa. No, I know. A lot.
And the name of the street?
Halstead.
Mustafa Halstead. This is very exotic.
I know. I like this. I don't know what kind of porn star she is.
Powerful. Very powerful.
Yes.
Halstead was a street, a road, avenue, lane.
Halstead Street.
Halstead Street. In East Orange?
East Orange, yeah. So we lived in an apartment, several bedrooms above a barbershop, which was open. It was me, my mother, my brother, my parents. It was probably the second place we had after my parents weren't together.
What was it like? What were some of the sights and sounds? Did you have a bedroom that had a window? Did you have your own room? Did you share a room?
I had my own room. My brother's room was next door to mine, and my mother's bedroom was on the other side. And then outside my door was the kitchen. So I was sandwiched between everybody. The bottom floor was a barbershop, and the second floor was our apartment. And so you pretty much, and it was on the corner, so you could look out on two streets, Halstead Street or Clifford Street. You could see the store on the corner across the street, our neighbors across the street. There was a thin area on the side of the house, on the side that my mother would plant fresh flowers and, just little plants to kind of jazz it up, because wherever we lived, my mom always wanted to do something to beautify it or make it smell good, feel good, even if we're in the projects, for a short time. So it was always an atmosphere when you stepped inside of my home or outside of it, because my mother was an art teacher, she always wanted, sort of creative, beautiful things around, or knew how to like jazz up whatever kind of area or space we were in. But it was very neighborhoody, everybody sort of knew everyone. It was mostly a Black neighborhood. People had been there for years and years. So I think there were a lot of roots in the neighborhood, but once we were there, we planted and we felt like part of the neighborhood. We had a lot of friends.
Were there a lot of kids your age on that street?
Yes, there were a lot of kids my age on that street. Right across the street was like a 6-family house, and it was packed. There was a family that had like every age group in it. It was probably six or seven kids. But we all locked in immediately. Our friends down the street, right around the corner, there were a bunch of kids my age, and my brother is 2 years older than me. So somewhere between our two age groups, we knew someone from anywhere in the neighborhood from our travels. And we lived a block in from the main street, which was Central Avenue in East Orange. So it could be night and day in that one block. It's quiet on our corner, but you go out to Central Ave and it's rocking.
Mayhem.
Oh yeah, it could be. It could definitely be. And depending on who was in office or what kind of which police chief had come in. The neighborhood inside the blocks would change. Maybe they would want to fight crime, and so some sort of activity would move to a different place, but it still wouldn't be far. It would just change the tone a little bit for a bit of time. So you just had to kind of go with the flow.
So what was that like for you? Because was your dad a police officer?
My dad was a police officer. My brother became the youngest police officer on the force in East Orange, determined to make a difference. I kind of come from a cop family, but I also come from a hood family, and I come from every family. That's how big my family is and how diverse. So it was very interesting because my brother is cool with everybody on both sides of the law, but there was an agreement. Like, you couldn't, you're our friends and this is what you do, but this is what I'm about to do, and so you can't do this in front of my mother's house. We all understood each other's story because we grew up together. So some people didn't have a choice. Some people chose different paths that weren't necessarily a good choice. And this was the choice that my brother chose. And so as they all grew in their own careers, there was understanding. And I think that's why it's really important that police come from their own neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That they're able to live in the neighborhood that they police in, because they understand the neighborhood, they understand the people, they understand each other, and a lot of things can be solved without even having to do anything violent or anything dangerous.
Things don't have to escalate.
Absolutely not. There's a time for that, but then there's so much more that can happen before that.
It sounds like your brother had kind of clarity and confidence to reach for positivity despite some of the seduction of the neighborhood, which obviously, coming from the Bronx, I understand as well, like a lot of what those dynamics were. For you, where did the confidence come to build a life or to have ambitions outside of what was going on in the hood?
Again, I think it comes from my family. My father comes from 9 brothers and sisters. My mother comes from 7 brothers and sisters. I have 100 million cousins from the Newark, New York, Philly area down to my mom's side, which is mostly in Maryland and Virginia. So we got a lot of the city, we got a lot of the country. We got to hear the sirens and the lights and then go run in fields, and barefoot and try not to get stung by bees and go in the woods and play with things and build, stuff in my grandfather's basement with just wood and nails, and get creative in that way. And I could swear I had built a fighter jet, and then I looked at it when I went to my grandmother's house, and it was 2 pieces of wood stuck together like this, but you couldn't tell me.
But you had vision. You had vision.
I could see it. But I think, my family they're very diverse. Every type of person, every sort of look, different styles, different levels of being an introvert or an extrovert, or creativity, musicality, all kinds of things were displayed in front of me before, I was probably 3-4 years old. Scientific people and drug addicts and both in one, and mathematicians and jazz artists. And my family are very, we like a little bit of, we're competitive in certain ways, but when we would go to the beach down in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, or Belmar, wherever it was a thing for us to swim to the buoy. The buoy is way out there. So the buoy is just floating way out in the water. And my dad would go in, my mom would go in, my Sonetta, my cousins. And the reality is once you get past, 15, 20 feet, you're on your own.
That's right.
You can get back to the shore, someone can save you, but at a certain point, you have to swim to the buoy because it's the only way you're going to survive. So I could look back and I could, you test the waters, you go out and then you get scared and go back. And then at some point you just keep swimming. And then finally you get out to this buoy, you're out of breath, you're exhausted, you think you're going to die. You're parents are standing there on the beach like rock solid, setting their feet ready, looking at you. You can do it, you can do it. And at the same time, you know they're going to run in there and try to get you if they can. But you're on your own and you got to float. And everything you've learned and everything they've taught you, you have to put it into practice. And then you grab onto this thing that's just floating in the water with all kinds of sea gook on it from being in there. And you just hold on. And you can't believe you made it. And you catch your breath. And then you got to swim back. So that's the other part of that. You got to get back to shore. But on shore is everyone you love and everyone who raised you, and everyone is encouraging you to stick with it and just fight, and you got it, and we're here. You know you're coming home to love, so you got to keep swimming. Doing those kinds of things just tested your mettle and made you stronger.
It's amazing because I see you out on that buoy, like holding on, having made it. And I love that you reference your parents back at shore, because it's like that strength of Hallstead made you feel like you could do anything or go anywhere. Because back at home, you had this rich family culture that was so strong.
Right. Sure did.
So your house sounds, the street you grew up on, this home on Hallstead, sounds like such a magical place where you got so much support. I wonder if there were also other grown-ups in the community outside of your family who helped to raise you on that street, like coaches or teachers who were important to you.
I went to high school at Irvington High School, and I played basketball. Playing a team sport like that with a coach, I think that shifted and helped support who I am. I met everyone in my music career through school. And I think I hate to go back to my mother again, but my mother taught high school. She taught at the school that I went to. She would not have me in her class because she had enough of me at home. But she taught at the high school, and she was that cool teacher that everyone went to.
Wow.
If they had a problem, if they were being bullied, if they got pregnant, like you went to Miss O. If you would go to her class, and that's where I met Shakim, who would become my partner and manager. That's where I met my best friend Tammy, who played basketball. That's where I met DJ Mark the 45 King, who DJ'd the high school parties and became my producer. Apache and the whole Flavor Unit crew were students at the school.
Really?
Or lived locally, So all of this is really through my mom.
Did you know as a little girl on Hallstead that a life in showbiz was what you wanted, that you wanted to be an entertainer?
Well, in my household, you had a choice. You were either going to go to college or you were going to work, figure out a trade, something. You were definitely not just chilling at home. You had to figure it out. And so college was always in the plan. It was always, okay, graduate from high school, go to college. Graduate from high school, go to college. But I loved politics. I thought I would study political science or maybe become a broadcast journalist, like Sue Simmons on News for New York.
Sue Simmons. I remember Sue.
I was like, Behind all of this, Queen Latifah-ism is a very sensitive Pisces who loves soft harmonies, and I knew that a harmony could hit my heart in a certain way. And I also felt like there was a lot to say, so rap music really made sense to me. It was like I could be that poet. I would write poetry in class, even though I was supposed to be paying attention. I would write poems and I would make up songs, and so this was a way that I could take those poems and turn them into rhymes, and that I could spit, eventually rap, then I could also incorporate that musicality that was part of my life as well. So hip hop was the thing for me, and my mother, being the cool teacher that she was, loved hip hop music too. So she encouraged her students and us, and she encouraged kids to embrace it. And I was encouraged to just kind of follow the path.
What kinds of music did your mom have on rotation in the house?
Oh my goodness, there was so much music. My father played nothing but jazz music.
Ooh.
Anytime you got in daddy's car, you were only hearing jazz, and it was all instrumental, not very many standards. It was just music. And it was like, oh boy, here we go, you know, boring. So you'd hear all that, and then you get in mommy's car, you get around mommy, and you're hearing everything from gospel to R&B to stylistics, delphonics. You're hearing folk music, you're hearing rock and
Wow.
roll, you're hearing the Doobie Brothers, you're hearing Michael McDonald, you're hearing Hall and Oates.
Wow.
It was just everything on the spectrum, and then jazz, and my dad played percussion, my mother played flute.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I still have her flute. It's just there was so much music. So sometimes we'd just be home, and then a bunch of friends of my parents would come over, and a guitar would come out, and the drums, conga drums, and bongos and gyros, all kinds of percussion would come out, and they would just start making music in the house, and we would just pick it up on the gyro, like learning how to play it. So music in Newark and East Orange, and my home and my roots, was like drinking water. But then on the other side of my family, my mother would go home a lot to her parents' house, my grandparents in Maryland and Virginia. It was church every Sunday. It was nothing but gospel. And my aunt was the head of a mass choir in Virginia that had about 200 people in it.
Wow.
And I would watch her teach these songs that would be performed on Sundays. I would just tag along to choir rehearsal and watch this song start so simply, and then watch her assign these parts, and then watch them learn the song, and watch it get stacked and built, and who's getting the solo, and watch them go from being a little shaky about it to watching them wail on these songs. And
Wow.
it was just, it stirred my soul.
It's like music training. You had real music training.
But I didn't know it.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. So falling in love with music really came from being in church and hearing that gospel. Nothing cut through my soul like gospel music.
Was faith a big part of your life on Halstead?
Faith was a big part of the family, yes. More so on my mom's side than my dad's side. We had various faiths on my dad's side of the family. Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, nothing at all. Just spiritual. So I got immersed in a little bit of everything. But the religion wasn't really forced upon us. It was really up to us to choose. I think we all chose at some point. And I've definitely felt the connection as a young child, that there was somebody always walking with me. You know, I was always holding someone's hand, even as a child, and I didn't know how to put it into words. But I never really walked alone. I wasn't always with someone, but I never walked alone.
Oh, that's beautifully said.
Sometimes when I was on these adventures, as I call them, trying to figure out my place in the world, or what's out there, there was damn sure some places I should not have been. And I'm lucky to have survived. I was in a club in the middle of Midtown Manhattan at 15 when I should have been in bed, you know, and I would learn all this and do these dances and hear this music, and I brought it all back to Halstead Street, and I would teach my friends. And it was fun also to learn how to handle yourself in the world, because there were so many places to go that if you can just blend in, you know, if you could just play it cool, you can roll in these places and you can see these things.
You can go anywhere.
I think the younger me would be happy that I took some of those chances so that I could experience some of those things.
We have a segment this season called You Can Take the Kid Off the Street that they grew up on, meaning what is something that you could say or do that would immediately let people know that you are from East Orange, New Jersey? Is there anything you could like wear or say or do that would be a tell that you're from EO?
I thought about it last night, and spending so much time in California, I realized I do not say East Orange. We say East Orange, like R, or even if you said Newark. We don't say Newark
Yeah.
as it's spelt, like Newark.
Yeah.
It's almost like Newark.
Newark.
Like
Nork, Newark.
Nork, like, where you from? I'm from Newark. Okay.
Okay.
You
I
can
believe
tell,
you.
as soon as you cross the bridge, it's not a New Yorker, because New Yorkers would probably say Newark. But if somebody from Newark would say Newark.
And you say what exit on the turnpike, right? That's how you let people know where.
People have discovered Jersey, so we used to be what exit. Now it really is what exit. They really want to come
Yeah, they're for real.
to our exit.
They're for real.
we were definitely the butt of the joke for a while. Now it's like, I live there. I bought a house on that exit.
Yeah. What would young Latifah think about this life that you live today? Like, what would wow her or surprise her, or what would she think about it?
I think she would think I don't know if she would be so surprised. I think she would be more like, okay, that's what it became.
Like, that tracks.
Yeah, that tracks. She would not be surprised by many of the things that I did. Before there was a big Latifah, there was a little girl named Dana. She didn't have the real realities of the world. She had the idealism, and she wasn't afraid of things. I think her innocence would have not been surprised by anything that I've accomplished, and would probably say, you should be doing more over there.
Wow.
Why are you working so hard when you could just be chilling over here? And take your son there in the woods and just go off and figure it out.
Wow, really adventure. Like, adventure is core to how you live and how you see the world.
Yeah. I think it's my dad and my grandfather and my grandmother. My grandmother would show me pictures of herself on cruise ships sitting at the captain's table as a kid. So she let me know there's a world out there. And so I remember doing Chicago, Rob Marshall, our amazing director on that movie, kept saying, they just think Sophie Tucker, she's buxom, she wears sequins, and she does this. And I was like, oh, I don't know Sophie Tucker, but that sounds like my grandmother. I'm going to do my grandmother in this.
Yes.
I got this. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Buxom, I'm doing Inez. Let's go.
And Grandma took you all the way to the Oscars. Grandma took you all the way to the Oscars.
All the way to the Oscars,
I
honey.
love it.
Let's go.
This season, because of our partnership with Intuit QuickBooks, we're able to give $10,000 to a local business that is rooted in community that you love. So where is that money going? Where are you giving this money to?
I think we can give this money to Vonda's Kitchen. Soul food in Newark, but taking care of the community, teaching people how to build businesses and explore things through cuisine, giving back. Oh, I wish I could give this to 10 different organizations, but I know Vonda's Kitchen will put it to good use.
Chef Vonda here from Vonda's Kitchen. Wanted to take a moment to thank Kerry Washington, along with Queen Latifah and QuickBooks. I am elated by it. Thank you so very much.
As you know, I like to have these conversations because I really do feel like somebody like you are living a fairy tale. Your life is a dream come true in so many ways. But I think it's important for people to understand that it starts somewhere, that you have once upon a time. And that is, in many ways, the street you grew up on. But I'm going to start the story, and I just want you to complete the sentence. I want you to complete the first sentence of the story of your heroic journey. So when I say once upon a time, how does that sentence end? What's the beginning of your story? Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, I lived on Halstead Street in East Orange, New Jersey, with my mom and my brother and my brother's best friend, who became like my brother. And it was a place where I heard my record play on the radio for the first time. I fell in love for the first time. I put it in the air for the first time. And I became somebody in hip hop for the first time.
I
all I got.
love that. I love that. Do you want to talk about the Equalizer at all?
Yeah, I've had to use so much of who I am for this character, for this show, to reimagine Robin McCall as a woman, a Black woman, a mother. I've had to use everything, every tool in the kit, just about. It's been great to be able to have this because I can inform this character in a way that I don't think many people could necessarily. With all this life experience, I was like, I just needed the body of my 20-year-old something self to be able to do this because
No, you're
I was
doing
like,
it.
who gets this job at 50?
When you were in your 20s, you wouldn't have had the wisdom of being a mother. What you're bringing to that role is your life as an artist, your life as a nurturer, your life as a pillar in the community, as a protector. I mean, it's really, and it's all the things, honestly, that you describe Halstead giving to you. You know, that in that home you were loved and protected so fiercely. So it's amazing to see kind of what was given to you at Halstead passed on through this character. It's inspiring.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. That was great. You're good.
This has been so nice.
I love you. Queen Latifah's story reminds us just how important it is to embrace adventure in life. The way her love of music grew shows how the little things from your childhood add up to ignite your passions in adulthood. Thank you so much to Intuit QuickBooks for having a platform that values everyday experiences that influence and form who we are. See you on our next episode of Street You Grew Up On. Like and subscribe so you don't miss it. See you next week.